Another thing on the technology that's coming out soon that we seem to be pretty jacked up about as a company, we just learned about 2 weeks ago, is the new KV Core programs. I don't know if you wanted to
Yeah,
touch base on some of
Max
that.
Tech is what they've rebranded it as. So, as Kent said, I do have shiny stuff syndrome, and it really
That's
came.
not what your wife says.
No, she uses some other
different
language.
S.
Yes, but no. So I started my company back in 2006, 2007 is when we opened the doors, and if you remember the market heading into 2008, I picked the best time possible to do that. And I didn't have 10,000 square feet. I didn't have 10 admins. I didn't know what I didn't know. But I knew that there was a shift coming, much larger than the shift we have today, but that we needed to be streamlined and systematized with how we ran things so that we had automations in place, that we could service, dozens of agents. Because when we started, it was me and my mom. My mom was our bookkeeper, and I was the janitor and CEO. So that's kind of how it started. And ever since then, I've just been passionate about finding ways to automate things that are mundane tasks. I agree with you wholeheartedly that the agent will never be replaced. But I think that there are certain aspects where the agent needs to increase what they do for consumers or clients. And that's why you saw some of these tech platforms come out in the last 15 years that, frankly, ate realtors' lunches, right? And we've seen the limited service models. We've seen, all these things, they happen in cycles. We're in one of those cycles. But going back to technology-wise, I was Follow Up Boss user number one. If you haven't heard of Follow Up Boss, it's probably the most prolific CRM on the planet as far as real estate's concerned. And a fantastic product. I've never been one that's content with being average, and so we've been using Chime for the last 2 years. We released that to our agents in place of what Remax Corporate was offering because I just didn't think it was up to par with our expectations. And so I had the opportunity to watch the KV Core or Remax Max Tech video the other week, and I was pleasantly surprised. So I'm very, very excited about it. It is, from what I can tell, it's Chime on steroids, because a lot of the things that I look for in a CRM, like drip campaigns and automations and tags and triggers and those kind of things that automate the communication throughout a leads progression to purchasing or closing on a home, but also throughout a transaction, the integrations they have with Dotloop and SkySlope, the AI that they're using to say, hey, based on their internet history or their cookies and all these websites that they're visiting, this person may be most interested in buying. The ability for teams to have their own website. I think Teams has been a big topic of conversation for the last 3-4 years. Teams to have their own website and management of the CRM so that they can properly route leads based on rules that they set up. So if you've got somebody that works in Falmouth and somebody that works in Covington and somebody that works on the Ohio side, that is all automated for you with lead distribution. And then the reporting on the back end looks absolutely fantastic so that you can so that I can keep my team accountable, and we can even do it on the brokerage level. So that's what I'm excited about with KV Core, and then they've got the CMA tool and the presentation tools that are kind of like Canva for realtors, which a lot of realtors use Canva. We use it almost exclusively for a lot of our designs. But, click here, type here, put your name in, set your templates the way you want them, and go, and you've got a custom listing presentation. So
what's that going to cost the agent?
nothing.
Oh.
Nothing.
Zero?
Zero. So it is included.
Included in the fees. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's shift gears just a little bit and talk about some of the broker support services. There's different business models out there, obviously now, and there's in the level of support. And people say that people won't leave you, your company, for your pay scale, but they'll leave you maybe because of the support that they've received. And obviously, there's business models out there now that think that that's probably an extra layer that's potentially unnecessary or a greatly reduced role for some people on that. But what's your thoughts on that?
Well, going back to, kind of when you said, hey, we decided to partner up, core values is, I think, the primary reason we share those, and we want to elevate the level of the agent. Like you said, you've been 30 years at number one in your market with average agent production, and that's incredible. And that's I want that longevity. We've been there, and our average agent's doing 20 deals a year. And so when you look at the shift, if you will, that's happening, and the fear mongering of, hey, we're going to see a reduction in the agent pool. There's 1.6 million plus realtors in the United States. If you see 160,000 of them leave, I hate saying that's a good thing, but it's there. You see too many brokers that are set up on 50-50 splits or 60-40 or even 70-30, where they will just invite any agent in and they say, hey, our goal is to help you become a top producer. There's only 5% or less of you that are going to be top producers. And that's not the case here. Our average agent is a top producer. And so I think when you talk about, I've forgotten the question now.
Well, just the broker support.
Broker support. So I think when you talk about broker support, our job is, I think, a lot easier. It's to support top agents doing what they do best, and that's selling. It's not worrying about who they need to recruit. It's not worrying about, do they need to speak at the company meeting, and what are they presenting on. We have agents, we have mastermind roundtables that agents share what they're doing that works for them. And so you golf better you play better golf when you play with better golfers, right? And that is kind of what happens here. So as far as broker support goes, our job is to, what's the RE/MAX motto?
Well, we've had a few through the years, but the main one is that at RE/MAX, you're going to be in business for yourself, not by yourself.
Exactly.
And I think so many times an agent, I've described this in the past, sometimes you feel like you're out there on a limb all by yourself, and then you hear it cracking behind you. It's like, who's there to help me? Who's in here? Is it just me all by myself? And it can be lonely. It's being the life of an independent contractor can be lonely at times, and you worry about that. But I think that's been one of the really super values of our combination. There's probably, I'm exaggerating, I'm not exaggerating, I mean to say that there's 7 or 8 people that you can call on at the broker manager level in our company anytime of day to get the support you need. We've set up systems with, in-house. We have an in-house mentor that works with newer agents or agents who want a little help for a while, and then that person will meet with them weekly and help them figure out what plan they need to be on. We have in-house coaching that's done by those of us that are the brokers and owners of the company. We have the coaching. We have the technology. We have in-house technology, a support system. Christy Daly, who a lot of people know in Northern Kentucky, she's been doing that for several years for us, and it's just been unbelievable. Everything from how do I turn my computer on to I just messed up my phone, how do I get that on, to a deeper dive into some of these programs and things that you're talking about, so that they can go in and sit down with her and actually create the products. And it's not being sent off someplace out of state or something. I think having somebody available locally seems to really be a plus.
Absolutely. I think that, one of the things we pride ourselves on is our level of communication. It's keeping agents in the know of legislative changes, rules from the MLS, whatever it might be that I don't think a lot of other brokers necessarily or agents pay attention to. We like to be at the forefront of that. We do attorney roundtables in the Ohio side, and just keeping agents up to date on here's what's going on. Here's the latest, greatest tech offerings. Here's how you utilize them. As you said, you're in business for yourself but not by yourself. I understand that when we come out with new technologies, that I have agents that are 21 years old and 75 years old, and the learning curve is obviously much different. But our services are there to help you and complement your business, not take over your business. There's no reason that I could go to any agent in the office and say, you need to do this and it will increase your business 10x. That's not going to happen. If it was, we would be somewhere on a beach right now. There's no magic pill for success, right? So yeah, between the technology that we offer, the broker support, you're going to get a person to answer a question for you, whether it's myself or Kent. call, text, email, workplace. There's
enough ways to find us.
yes, you will find one of us for answers on those questions. And then, like you said, that just the amount of knowledge within the office. How many years experience do you think the management staff has
Oh my gosh.
here? I mean, it's 100 plus years.
We've seen every market.
Seen every market. We were
Seen
talking about
19% interest rates. We've seen the foreclosure market. We've
Yep.
seen everything in between. We've seen 2% interest rates. So.
yeah, we've seen 50 offers on one house. So
We've been teasing lately. I think it might have even said this on a previous program, but I told a lot of people, agents, that we were talking at lunch with some of our agents. People are freaking out, going, "Oh my gosh, rates are at 5.5%." I'm like, well, my standard line has been, "So what?" What I've really been telling everybody to do is go back to your clients and say, "You know what? There was a mortgage sale for the last couple of years and you missed it. Sorry about your luck, but here's what the new reality is." And I think for a lot of you, is if you're getting worried about your pipeline, and you're saying these people don't want to pay 5.5%, keep in mind they're the people that got pre-qualified at 2.5 and 3. To them, yes, the rate doubled. But to the new ones that are coming into the market now saying, "I want to see what it looks like to buy a house," they get pre-qualified from their favorite lender at 5.5 or 6. That's all they know. So now they go look at the 250 price instead of the 325 price. So I think it's a calming thing that's going on. I don't think it's anything to be worried about.
Gene Paul said it right at lunch. That's normal. That's normal.
It's actually below normal for the last
It
30
is.
years.
So, but I think if you ask that same client pool of what happens, or what are interest rates going to do, well, I think the response is, what is your credit card interest rate? And most of them couldn't tell you, but it's much, much higher. So I think it's been in the headlines, and that's why it's top of mind. That has cooled off a little bit, and I think you're going to see that continue for the next 6 to 12 months.
I think tip number one for some of the agents out there that have clients that are interest rate sensitive is, this has been a foreign language to you to even hear this term, but don't forget that there's something called an adjustable rate mortgage. If they're only going to be in that house for the next 5 years and they plan on moving on, maybe a 5-year adjustable at a lower rate is right up their alley. It works fine. We did tons of those in the early 80s and 90s to try to early 80s, to deal with the fact that rates were pushing up to 16, 17, 18%. We would lock them down for a couple of years and make it a little easier. But I think the main thing for agents, and I've told this story a lot of times in training, and I think it's important we all remember it, no matter what business you're in. This is a business lesson for every business. I think sometimes we get caught up in doing what we do every day and forgetting about what we are about and what our mission is and what we're really trying to accomplish. And the little story that I tell is a bucket company. There was years ago, there was a company that made wooden buckets, and they used them to haul water. And they would stick them down the well, and they picked them up, and they take them back and forth. And they were in the business of building wooden buckets. Along came some company that got a little bit smarter, and they said, "You know what? Those things leak a little bit. What if we have a galvanized pail?" So they took this metal and they created a galvanized bucket, and sure enough, they put it in there. But what happened to the galvanized bucket is sometimes they'd rust out a little bit. Another company came along and said, "I think a plastic pail is going to be much better." So they started making plastic buckets. The other two companies went out of business because they thought they were in the bucket business. And they weren't in the bucket business. They were in the how do I carry or haul water business.
Yep.
And they forgot that they needed to be thinking of it from the consumer perspective. So all these changes that are coming along and all the new technology and everything, I think it's important that you look at it and say, what is the experience that my customer gets? Do I still make a wooden bucket? I can make them really, really good, but is that going to keep me in business? Do I make the galvanized pail? Probably not. But if I learn how to make, and I don't know what the next generation of the plastic pail is, but it's lasted quite a while.
It's going to be lighter, and it's going to be.
But the same thing's true in real estate. If we continue to provide the services the way we've always provided them, we're going to fall behind. We're going to lose out, and that's why I say that the techie agent will replace some people who are not techie because they're coming up with systems that will make it a better feeling. And think about feeling today. That's where everybody is. It feels much better to the consumer than the old way.
Well, I think we are so programmed today that our attention spans are very short, and so that any marketing that you do is being compared to the marketing they saw from Facebook, the marketing they saw from Apple, the marketing they saw from Nike. And so if you haven't elevated your marketing game, you are going to be that wooden bucket. But at the end of the day, it is if you're a new techie agent and the consumer experience is terrible because you only text and your client wants to call you, you still have to understand that getting from point A to point B is that consumer experience, and you have to do it the way that the client wants it.
Right.
So I think when you look at that client experience, technology can assist with it, but not replace it.